If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Thank you for joining the Keep It Clean podcast. I am your host, the FightersRep, and we just got done with Claressa Shields versus Ivana Habazin. It was an expected performance from Claressa Shields, who ran through Ivana Habazin with ease. If I'm being quite honest, watching the fight, Ivana Habazin at no point in this contest was a threat to Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields just too sharp, too fast, too strong for Habazin, the superior boxer. And despite the bad blood, Habazin couldn't really put anything together. Just not really an eventful fight, although a history-making fight for women's boxing, apparently, because Claressa Shields became the quickest, and this is not just in women's boxing, but this is in boxing, period, the quickest person to win three different divisions, or three different titles in three different divisions in boxing history. So she goes down in history for that. But if I'm being honest, just not that exciting of a fight in the main event between Claressa Shields and Ivana Habazin. I do think that Shields has improved a little bit. It looks like her boxing was a little bit crisper. She wasn't winging so many haymakers, and she did get Habazin to the canvas. It's her first time dropping somebody, and it was with a body shot implored by Andre Ward, who was sitting at ringside and told her, hey, go to the body, sis. That's what she was saying in the post-fight interview, that she heard Andre Ward from ringside say, go to the body, sis. And so she took Habazin to the body. She was able to drop her, but was not able to stop her. This was a fight where I felt like Claressa Shields was able to do whatever she wanted, but despite that, just wasn't able to get the stoppage against a sort of durable Ivana Habazin. Again, I expected the stoppage, especially considering the fact that Claressa Shields is sort of making her way through divisions in reverse order instead of going up the way the usual male boxers do. They grow out of a division, they move up. They grow out of a division, they move up. Shields is doing the opposite. She's actually moving down. And so she moved, I believe it was from super middleweight to middleweight and down to wherever she's at now. I have no idea, if I'm being honest with you guys. But there was also something I want to talk about that happened tonight in women's boxing. A super middleweight unification fight between Alicia Napoleon Espinosa and Eileen Setteruz. I'm probably messing with Setteruz's pronunciation of her last name. She is from Sweden, so I'm not exactly sure how you say it, but it's Setteruz. And my goodness, it was just an absolutely incredible fight. I mean, this was a fight. It doesn't matter about the pronoun. It doesn't matter male or female. This fight was pure action, and I think was one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen in women's boxing, and one of the most exciting fights I've seen in boxing lately, period. I mean, these two women went at it for the 168-pound unified title, and, I would have loved to see Claressa Shields fight one of those women because they both seemed a lot more adept and athletic and just better overall fighters than Ivana Habazin was tonight. Ivana Habazin, if I'm being honest, looked to me to be the defeated fighter from the moment she walked out. She just did not look comfortable out there. She looked like she didn't want anything to do to Claressa Shields. I almost felt like maybe the beef beforehand with what happened with her trainer and so on and so forth perhaps affected her confidence and her ability to perform in the ring. It wasn't until the very last round of this fight, when she had absolutely no chance to win because she got shut out, did Habazin actually do some sort of work. But like Paulie Malignaggi was saying throughout the broadcast, she just wasn't educated from a boxing standpoint, wasn't doing the right things in order to give herself any sort of chance in this fight. And it was apparent that Claressa Shields' amateur experience and just experience overall as a boxer was way too much for Ivana Habazin. So while Claressa Shields does make history, I believe it's sort of anticlimactic taken into consideration who she did it against. Respect to Ivana Habazin for stepping in the ring, but just not somebody that's on the level of a Claressa Shields. I think if you have somebody like Alicia Napoleon Espinosa or like Cedaruz who are fighting on the undercard, somebody like those two women that's willing to go out on their shield, because they were both willing to go out on their shield in that fight, knuckleheads, and I definitely think you guys should go check out that fight if you weren't able to watch it. These women were trying to take each other to that dark place, and neither one was backing down and looking for the light, let me tell you. So it was just an absolute awesome rumble between Cedaruz and Napoleon Espinosa, but not really the same for the Shields versus Habazin fight. I also thought that that Jaron Ennis versus Bakhtiar Ayubov fight was entertaining while it lasted, but I think we had a little bit of boxing corruption creep its way into that one. They stopped the fight way too early. Of course, Ennis was in the lead, but he was having a tough fight with Ayubov, who just kept coming forward and looked to be perhaps doing slightly better as the rounds progressed. Nonetheless, the referee just felt like he'd taken too much damage. Of course, erring on the side of caution is always a good thing in boxing. We don't want people getting hurt seriously or passing away. We've had enough of that in the past year. However, I just felt like Ayubov was doing good enough to be given the opportunity to continue, and the referee sort of cut it short at a moment that wasn't the opportune moment. So that being said, knuckleheads, I'm going to see what you guys are talking about in the chat real quick. Thank you guys for joining me. Before I do that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, typically at 7 p.m. Unless there's a fight on, then we go live immediately after the fight. And of course, tomorrow we'll be going live immediately after the fights as well. So be sure to tune in right here, the only forum where we accept everybody's opinion and love to hear what you guys have to say. And, this is a combat sports forum where I hope you guys can find a place to come and talk about whatever you want without being judged, without being insulted. There's a lot of that going on YouTube, but this is not the channel. Also, by supporting us, by supporting the channel, you're also helping me build the only kickboxing promotion in the entire state of California. We're having our first Pro-Am. Some great pro fighters are going to be on the card, as well as some of the most talented amateurs in the world. That's going down Friday, February 28th, right here in Southern California. If you're anywhere near Southern California, pick up your tickets at FightersRep.com. If you're too far away, you can always tune in for free right here on YouTube, where we air the fights. I guarantee you these are going to be some of the most exciting fights you ever watch in your life. And you can donate in the super chat. Even though it's free, a donation is appreciated to help me keep the promotion free and keep talking about boxing and combat sports with you guys. So Marco Martinez is in the chat. I actually saw you today, man. Thank you for coming by, helping out today. Marco Martinez says, Claressa Shields is so cringeworthy. She's a badass, but I know any other girls who box in her division. And the reason we don't know any other girls who box in her division, and we've talked about this before, is women's boxing just has not been marketed anywhere near the level it should have been marketed at for several decades now. And so you're not going to know most of the girls that are fighting Claressa Shields until they fight Claressa Shields, which is a real shame. Muay Thai 23 says, Katie Taylor, the boss, bro. Perhaps. Bernard Brown, thank you for joining the chat, brother. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. He says she just called out a featherweight. Marco Martinez says, I don't understand when she said something like women should get equal pay. No one outside of hardcore fans know who she is. Marco Martinez, I think what she's trying to do is get to that level. She says she wants to be under the lights with those guys, so she's not there yet. But she wants to get there, and, I think that's admirable. Of course, anybody wants to get to that level so they can make the same money that Deontay Wilder and Errol Spence and these guys are making. So I think that's what she was getting at more than anything. But obviously, she, like you're saying, she's nowhere near that level as of yet. Bernard Brown said the first fight was the best of the night. Bernard, I'm imagining that you're talking about the Cedar versus Espinosa or Napoleon Espinosa fight. Confirm that with me if you are, but my goodness, that fight was absolutely incredible, and I would watch them rematch as soon as possible, man. I would love to see a rematch between those two if it happens, or maybe one of them takes on Claressa Shields. Those women were trying to kill each other tonight, and it was just very entertaining. Not that I want anyone to get killed, that's just hyperbole, but you know what I mean. An extremely entertaining fight between Cedar and Napoleon Espinosa, something that I would love to partake in and watch again. Marco Martinez saying she's trying to pick a fight with Amanda Nunes, 135 or 145 at best. I don't think that would be fair if she fought Amanda Nunes in a boxing ring. However, in an MMA cage, that's another story, and I don't think she should at all ever consider stepping into the octagon, because that's a whole nother world. And I'll be honest, I didn't see the type of power from Claressa Shields that would worry me if I were one of her opponents. I feel like they're able, even tonight, Habazin was able to walk through a lot of her shots. She's just not that big of a puncher. And so, I don't know. I don't know how a fight with her and Amanda Nunes would even go, considering the fact that Amanda Nunes is a real big puncher, but so much smaller. I just don't think it's a good fight to make unless it's in the cage. Amanda Nunes is not really a boxer, despite the fact that she has great boxing. Let's see. EBZ Slap, thank you for joining the chat, brother. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Says, head down, throwing wild punches. Look novice. I believe he's referring to the first fight of the evening. Marco Martinez says, hey guys, there's 7 viewers, 1 like. Take a moment, smash that like button. Appreciate it, brother. Everybody in here, if you could smash that like button, we'd really appreciate it. Muay Thai 23, I'm not even going to repeat what you're saying there. EBZ Slap said, that dude was a zombie. Ennis looked sharp, though. Absolutely. Ennis looked really sharp. Ennis looks really good, man. Very fast, powerful. But I was just wondering, was he getting tired, and would Ayubov have come on later in the fight? That's what I was, I don't know. That's what I was anticipating. I was hoping it would turn into a good fight where Ennis maybe would tire out and Ayubov would come on, and then we'd see, what kind of heart Ennis really has, but they didn't really give him the chance to do that. The referee stepped in, stopped the fight. Let's see here. Got Drama Allergy, thank you for joining the chat. Hit the subscribe button, brother. He says, respect to Alicia and Ellen. Great battle, my dude. Absolutely. That was a fantastic fight. Again, one of the most entertaining boxing matches I've seen in a very long time. It almost looked like a video game at times, you guys. They were throwing haymakers, they were throwing uppercuts, they were moving, and these girls were fighting at a high level. It wasn't really that sloppy. These girls were pretty educated and throwing some nice punches, and they had some good movement. It was really exciting. They were landing some big power shots. People were getting buzzed. Napoleon Espinosa got dropped. There were cuts. They both got cut for the first time, and it was a lot of drama, and it came down to a really close decision, with Cedaruz basically winning a unanimous decision by 1 point on each judge's scorecard, and obviously Espinosa believing that she did enough to win the fight. So, there's a good chance that fight gets run back, but if it doesn't, you guys need to go check out that fight. Marco Martinez says somewhere near the top 750. Oh my goodness. Muay Thai 23 is saying, bro, can the kickboxing even be watched online? Yes, absolutely. We will be airing our kickboxing event on February 28th. And like Marco Martinez says, all FightersRep shows are on YouTube. Let me see here. Muay Thai 23 says, link me to one of the shows. If you just go to our channel, Muay Thai, and you go to playlist fights or you just scroll down, you'll be able to see the fights. D-Boy65, women's MMA is more popular than women's boxing, and that's unfortunate, D-Boy. And that's because women's MMA has been marketed at a much higher level than women's boxing, and you can thank Uncle Dana for that. I've been saying that forever. If boxing were to market itself the way the UFC does, if boxing were to market women the way UFC does, then, boxing would be in a much different place. But unfortunately, boxing is typically just trying to sell us a storyline that the hardcore fans can see right through, and they do the bare minimum. They do the bare minimum to make the most money that they can. So that's the way I feel about boxing. I love it, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. Scotty Bottom, thank you for joining the chat. Hit the subscribe button, brother. He says, hey, dog, you look cute, though. Espinosa is sexy. I'm a part of LDBC, so you better watch out, dog. I'm a gangster fool. I'll smash that shit. Oh, my goodness. Rate my pick. I don't know what he's talking about. Scotty, thank you for joining the chat, brother. I appreciate you. But, I ask that you contribute with something of meaning. And if you're going to be funny, you might need to work on that a bit and be a little bit funnier. But, thanks for joining the chat. If you got any opinions on the fight, I'd love to hear them, brother. My brother Jamaican is in the house, and Jorge Estiels representing. What's up, my brother? Jorge is asking who won the fight. It was Claressa Shields by a very dominant, unanimous decision. She won every round, I believe, on every judge's scorecard, including, my own and even the broadcasters. I mean, it wasn't even a close fight. The only round that was close at all was the final round when Habazin basically had nothing left to say, nothing left to do. Her corner had basically given up and said, you kind of fought with all your heart. You did great. And so, let's just get out of here, basically. Let's do our best to get out of here. Scotty Bottom is saying, check my picture. Okay, Scotty. Thank you so much for your time, Scotty. D-Boy65, what's your prediction on Munguia versus Sullivan? That's coming up tomorrow. I'll tell you in a minute. Jamaican, hashtags GWOAT, greatest woman of all time. I think Claressa Shields at this point probably is. I would have loved to see her against, or put her up against some of the, best women of all time, see how she would fare. But right now, she's definitely the best, definitely in the divisions that she's campaigning at. So D-Boy65 asked me what's my prediction against Munguia versus Sullivan. After what Lemieux did to Sullivan, I think I'm definitely going to have to go with Munguia on that one. I would imagine that Munguia gets Sullivan out of there, without too much trouble. That being said, I think Munguia is a little bit overrated, if I'm being honest with you guys. And despite the fact that, Spike got KO'd in the first round against David Lemieux and came back and won 2 fights, he's won 2 fights against guys that he doesn't really belong in there, or that don't really belong at any sort of level with any of the real fighters in the division. He fought against, I'll tell you their names, Gabor Gorbix and Chiari Gray. It's 2 guys who I've never even heard of these guys. The Gabor Gorbix fight was only 8 rounds. And the Chiari Gray, I believe it was a 10-round fight. So, and now he's going to be going up in there against Munguia, who's got a lot of experience. So, it looks like Scotty is being a little bit silly. Scotty, all your messages are getting deleted, my man. And now you've been placed in timeout by Jamaican for 300 seconds. If you don't behave yourself, Scotty, you're just going to get banned from the channel. And you'd probably be one of the first that ever happened to. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. Let me see here. Yeah, just a little bit ridiculous. Let's see here. Jorge Estiels said, we had an earthquake, so no electricity until now. Missed the fight. Oh my goodness, Jorge. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. I hope you guys are okay. But yeah, just a very easy win for Claressa Shields. Jamaican says, find someone who can beat Claressa, otherwise bow down to the GOAT. I agree she's the GOAT right now, but GOAT means, you can't even say GOAT right now. GOAT is greatest woman of all time. Now, I don't know if she's the greatest woman of all time. I imagine that she's in the conversation. But, Laila Ali comes to mind, Ann Wolfe. There's been some decent female boxers. And I think we should wait a little while before giving her the GOAT. Of course, she should call herself the GOAT. If you don't have that kind of confidence in yourself as a fighter, then who is going to have that confidence for you, right? So, much appreciated her confidence. And I do think she eventually will probably be the GOAT, but I'd like to see a little bit more from her. She's still got a long career ahead of her. And, we'll see what happens there. And I'm excited to see if the women's, if women's boxing continues to develop, because, it would be really exciting to get some good female fighters the way we do in MMA. The women of MMA have a following. People appreciate the women of MMA the way they appreciate the men of MMA. It's pretty much, I think you'll find people that are fans of both equally. Whereas in boxing, I don't even think it's anywhere near that level. So, that's what I think about that. King 20 says she is a very good fighter. I agree with that. Claressa can fight Holly Holm. Interesting boxing fight. That would be interesting. But I think Claressa at this point, especially I think Holly Holm's now over 40, would really put a beating on Holly Holm. And Muay Thai 23 seems to agree. Claressa would whoop Holly. By the way, Jamaican, thank you for moderating in the chat. You and Marco, always fantastic moderators. So appreciate you guys nipping that one in the bud for me. What we've got to look forward to tomorrow is Spike O'Sullivan, or rather, it's Gary Spike O'Sullivan taking on Jaime Munguia. That should be a fun fight while it lasts. I think, these are two tough guys, but I definitely think Munguia is the much better fighter, albeit I think Munguia is overrated. And, I think he became overrated when he beat Saddam Ali and people started talking about him like he was the next big thing. But, I don't think he's the next big thing, although we've got the future ahead of us that'll let us know that. He's only 23 years old. He's still a young buck. He had a tough fight with Dennis Hogan, who eventually got smashed up by Charlo. He got a unanimous decision win over Liam Smith, where he looked okay. He just hasn't looked like the world beater we expected after that performance against Saddam Ali. So I'm not even sure where he's at right now. But, this is probably a smart fight for him to take and for his team to pick for him, because it's an easy win. It's an easy win, and, it continues to build up his record. That's what they do in boxing. You know how it is. It'll be his 35th fight. He'll probably get the easy win. And then I think, it's time to put him in there with somebody. It's time to put him in there with somebody who's got a pulse. And, if they don't put him in there with somebody who's got a pulse next, And I really don't know what to say about him. I mean, I don't, if he's not ready after 35 fights, it starts becoming a sort of Deontay Wilder type syndrome. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Jorge STLs says Jaime Munguia is overrated. Says Smith gave him a hard time. He sure did. And Muay Thai 23 says, how come you need to fight with headgear in K1 Amateur in Cali? You all soft in Cali, bro. Well, it's not. I don't believe it's just up to Cali where amateurs have to fight with headgear on for these sorts of rules. It's the IKF, that's the sanctioning body, which is the International Kickboxing Federation. They're all over the world. And so if you have less than 3 fights, you have to wear headgear and shin guards. You have to. It's only after when you're going into your 4th fight where you're allowed to take off the headgear and the shin guards. Excuse me, guys, and fight. And that's just the rules. That's the IKF rules. That's not really a California thing. That being said, we've got a lot of fighters that are going in to their 4th fight on the amateur portion of the card, which is going to be the undercard. And then we've got pro fights as well. It looks like we're probably going to get Terrion Ware. He's a UFC veteran. And we're also going to get Quinton McCottrell, a guy who's fought for Bellator, that's going to be competing. The main event is probably going to be John Garcia versus Milton Arguello, 2 very good strikers from right here in California, top-level guys out of some great teams. And then, the undercard main event, I'm really excited to announce, is for the Southern California IKF Unified Rules Kickboxing Championship. And it's going to be Gabe Silva from Systems Training Center against Christian Williams from King's MMA. That's the same King's MMA that Kelvin Gastelum and Coach Rafael Cordero are at. And if Gabe Silva sounds familiar, that's because he's Anderson the Spider Silva's son. He's now 4-0 in combat sports. I believe Christian Williams 3-0. So we're doing a big regional title for them to see, who the man is in Southern California at middleweight, the 165-pound division. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, Muay Thai 23 is asking, do you plan on making pro main card fights? Yes, we are going to have a handful of pro fights at the top of the card. So, typically I'm going to aim for 3 to 5 pro fights and then develop the amateurs on the undercard. Maybe 10 or so amateur fights on the undercard. But, we're talking real quality fighters here. I mean, again, Black House MMA, CMMA, these are places where Lyoto Machida and Anderson Silva and all these guys train. I mean, these are the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of fighters, whether they're amateur or pro, so you're definitely going to want to tune in. I mean, it's just absolutely awesome. And I'm telling you guys, tune in February 28th. It's the most exciting rule set in combat. There's no holding. Imagine a boxing match where, just like in boxing, the referee will break you up anytime you clinch. The only difference being you can also throw knees and kicks. That's our rule set. There's no clinching. There's no holding. There's none of that. It's just you got to stand and bang it out. And if you clinch, the referee's going to break you up. So it's the most exciting rule set, I think, in all of combat sports. Jamaican saying Ennis isn't ready for the top guys. I don't think so. I think Ennis needs to build a little bit more experience. But, man, he looked really sharp tonight, Jamaican. He looked really sharp tonight, my brother. And I do think that he has the potential to be a top dog because he just looked super sharp. He looked strong. He looked fast. I would have just loved to see him be pushed tonight, see how he would have handled it. But the referees robbed him of that opportunity. Muay Thai 23 says they're solid amateur events, bro. Just shin guards in Ireland, amateur with 12-ounce gloves. We actually do 10-ounce gloves here. Unless it's a heavyweight bout, then you can opt for 12-ounce gloves. We do shin guards. And we do headgear. But again, that's only for guys, prior to going into their fourth fight. Once you go into your fourth fight, you can take off the headgear and the shin guards. And of course, the pros don't wear headgear and shin guards. They just bang it out, shin to shin, shin to skull, fist to face, whatever happens. So Muay Thai say, fly me over for a pro fight, bro. I fight out of SBG. I'll unleash the Irish Fury. Check out Fight Store Media on YouTube for all the amateur pro events. Oh, that sounds cool, man. Hey, maybe one day you'll come out here for a fight, my man. Maybe one day we'll be able to do that. I look forward to it as long as people continue to, join this chat, donate, help us build. Then, I'll be more than happy to fly guys from out of town. We've actually got our first guy, our first pro that's going to be coming from out of town. It's Jake the Avocado Haas, one of my favorite nicknames ever. He's going to be fighting, hopefully, Nico Ruiz, a very, very good fighter from down here in Southern California. Jake the Avocado Haas is going to be coming from up north and staying at the beautiful Hampton Inn in Seal Beach. Much love to them. They're giving us a discounted rate, so I want to shout them out. Also, I want to shout out some new sponsors that are actually going to be sponsoring the title fight, the regional title fight between Gabe Silva and Christian Williams. It's Casa Azul Tequila and Channel Lumber. Check them out on Instagram. We put them in our latest post. If you're not following us on Instagram, do so. You'll see all our sponsors in our posts. Follow us at FightersRep on Facebook, on Twitter. We're FightersRep everywhere you go. Eric Langarica says, what's up, my people from East LA? What up, Eric? I'm actually right down here in San Pedro, brother. I wasn't even in the know. I didn't know you were in East LA, brother. So, thank you for joining the chat. Appreciate that very much. Muay Thai 23 says, do you plan on staying full K1 or branching out to some A-class Muay Thai? I plan, Muay Thai 23, on staying full K1 forever. I like kickboxing much better than Muay Thai. I respect Muay Thai, but I don't think it's ever going to catch on. At least in my opinion, I don't think it's ever going to catch on the way kickboxing can catch on here in the United States, because I think that when people start clinching, that turns the casual fan off. I also think the traditional Thai music, doesn't really work for the Western culture. And a lot of the Thai guys, they want traditional Thai and traditional Thai music. And, obviously they're going to want clinching and elbows. And, I mean, that's just the kind of thing, in my opinion, that's just not going to fly in the West. I think the kickboxing rule set is the ideal rule set for fight fans. It's just it hasn't been marketed outside of Glory. They do a fantastic job, and I hope to compete and surpass them one day. But outside of Glory, there isn't really a great kickboxing promotion, and I hope to fill that niche, especially right here in the United States, where we've got some of the best and most talented fighters in the world, especially right here in Southern California. And they've got nowhere to compete. They got to wait for these Muay Thai shows. One happens once in a blue moon. One happens, if it happens in another state. If they want to fight a kickboxing match, they have to wait till like Glory comes to the United States, or they got to take an MMA fight just to stay busy, or a boxing match. I'm trying to be a promotion right here in Southern California to cater to all the fighters here in Southern California. We got the most talent in the world here, in my opinion. Excuse me, and that's what I'm building here, and I'm really happy to be here. So anyway, knuckleheads, that's all I've got for you this evening. The Claressa Shields versus Ivana Habazin, for those people watching on the replay again. Very good performance for Claressa Shields, but excuse me, uneventful. Kind of uneventful. I mean, easy fight, not competitive at all. Nowhere near the action of the female fight that was on the undercard between Setaruz and Espinosa Napoleon Espinosa, and that's the kind of fight that I think fight fans want to see. So, not a very exciting fight for boxing and for Claressa Shields, despite the fact that she made history. Before I let you go here, Muay Thai 23 says clinching gets abused by fighters. It's used a lot as a way out of engaging. I agree with what you say about K1, but I love blood and elbows. And of course, I mean, we we have blood at our shows, and elbows are cool. Maybe a rule set where elbows are allowed would be cool. But I think the best pure striking rule set for me is this K1 rule set we call Unified Kickboxing Rules. That's what we do at FightersRep, and that's the rule set for us, and you'll be able to watch that live. If you're not anywhere near Southern California where you can get your tickets at FightersRep.com, I think they're very reasonably priced. Then you could tune in right here on YouTube and watch the fights for free, and they're going to be awesome. If you do get tickets, man, we've got VIP tables. They're only $75 a head at the VIP tables, and it comes with a free bottle for the table. Definitely something you guys would enjoy if you're anywhere in the area. And Eric Langarca says, I love Pedro. I work at Harbor Occupational Center. That's hilarious, my man. I'm actually not too far from there. But anyway, Knuckleheads, thank you guys for joining me. Much appreciated. Be sure to tune in tomorrow immediately after the Spike O'Sullivan versus Jaime Munguia fight. We'll be talking about the fights tomorrow immediately after the fight. And until then, as always, keep it clean, Knuckleheads. I'm out of here.